Good morning, NVR. It is your main man, Vapin Minuteman, just coming right here at you on the main Vape News Network. We are just bringing to you everything that we can, as much as we can, as fast as we can. But you know what? We're going to give it to you, and we're going to lay it out for you to play it out. So stick around right here after this commercial break. We'll get right into it. So good morning. And we are now live. Good morning, NVR. How you're doing this morning? Once again, you've got the two best looking guys on the internet today, Anthony and myself.
Ought to be against the law to look this damn good.
But how are you doing this wonderful morning, Anthony?
I'm doing pretty well. Obviously, lots of things going on. When you're a guy that's talking about news all the time, it's nice to have a lot of news to talk about. I would like to have some good news occasionally to roll into these programs instead of all just bad news. That's the nice thing. I feel great about being able to get this out to people who can't find it or don't know where to find it. So
exactly. And that's one of the main reasons we do these shows, because, there's a lot of stuff that is out there that people just don't realize is out there.
Yes.
And, now, for those of you that do not know, World War Vape has begun officially. The FDA, we've all been saying, well, they're not going to go after people. They're not going to go after people. The enforcement is where it's going to be. Well, guess what, guys? Enforcement has started on post-August 8th of 2016 products. I'm going to put up a link straight from the FDA into the chat here in just a second, to where if you want to go look at this and read over the warning letters, you can. But the very interesting side of this, I don't know if you caught it, and actually I'm going to have to shorten it, so I'm going to have to go and make a shorter link for it. But I don't know if you caught it, Anthony. It's actually all Saltnik.
It is, absolutely. I've been sent this link 5 times from people who know me. It's just kind of funny. Everybody, it seemed like as soon as it hit, I got bombarded with that same link like several times. I love that that's the biggest part that they seem to be going after right now is the Saltnik and the pod systems. That seems to be where their focus is right now. But I'll let you get rolling with this, and I'll throw some opinions in here. We may have some differences of opinion, which isn't anything new for this show. There's some things that I like about this, some things I don't like about this, and then some things I think just don't really matter.
Well, go ahead and tell me what your opinion is, because I'm trying to get this link to shorten. So.
Okay. Well, here's the situation. They hit a lot of companies with this. They hit some of the big boys that you guys all know and love. There were several letters sent out. The list of manufacturers is fairly long. They're going, well, the 4 big ones, but they've sent out the previous letters were to places like Sigeli and all kinds of other places. And the biggest thing,
And they haven't released these yet.
There's a list. I will get that information to you. There's a list of the other ones they sent letters out to. But you're right. It all seemed to focus on either Saltnik or pod systems that have been recently released. VGod got like 5 or 6 letters for different products that they have.
Wow.
So these are the big boys that they're showing you here on this link. But there are several other ones out there that they've added this with. Now, those of you that know me know I hate Saltnik. I just do. I think it's a terrible thing. I even recently got a sample from a company, and I won't say their name because I don't want to embarrass them. but they're a sub-ohm salt nic company, and vaping their stuff does weird things. I just do not like the effects of salt.
Sub-ohm salt nic.
Yeah, there are several companies out there that do that. Fresh Pressed, California. There's
so you're talking companies, lower nicotine.
Yeah, like 3% nicotine.
Okay. Well,
yeah. So
I'm going to tell you right now, if I was still working for a vape shop, and I got sent 6 milligram salt nic, I would flat out tell them you're wasting your time with me. And here's the reason why. Because 6 milligram salt nic has little to no effect nicotine-wise on the body. And here's why. Because according to the doctor that I listened to, salt nic has to be at least 20 or 25 before it starts having an effect on you. Before
and we've discussed this before. Absolutely. And I will send you a bottle of this so that you can try it for yourself. But I think you'll change your mind once you try some of this, because I still get the same nicotine effects, but I get extra stuff with it that I don't like.
I've tried the fresh
lightheaded. It makes me nauseous. I just do not like the effects of this. And it's not that the flavor is bad. It's just I don't like the effects I get from it. And it's pretty obvious when it's something like I can tell you, a few times after I vape it, I'm like, oh, this is sub-ohm salt nic, and I don't really like this. So that's been an issue.
Because I've tried fresh pressed, and it did nothing for me.
Okay. This other company, I'll see if I can send you a bottle of that. I think most of what I have left is in 3s, but I'll see if I can find a 6. Because I have these companies send me 6 also, just so I can try the different ones. No, seriously though, but the pod system thing, which I always felt like was kind of the devil when it came to what's caused a lot of these uprisings with this, the stealth versions of these products, and it seems like that seems to be their target. The thing that you may not like that I'm going to say is that I really don't think these letters are going to have enough of an effect. Maybe for companies in the United States, but China is probably just going to file these in the same round file that they file a lot of other things in.
Oh, China, they'll go and file 86. They'll just ignore them.
Right, exactly. So when you talk about enforcement and you're just sending out letters, to me, that's not really enforcement.
That's the first step in the enforcement process. They have to go through a process, and that is the first step. Then if it is not corrected over a short amount of time, then they move to that next step. This is the first step of that enforcement period. So that's why this is the start of the enforcement side of it, because they're going to do it. I mean, because I don't know if you saw this, Ned Sharpless on Twitter actually came out and talked about it. He was put out. This was on August 8th. Today, FDA notified 4 firms to remove 44 flavored e-liquid / hookah products from the market for not having required agency authorization. We'll continue to investigate and take action against illegally marketed products amid youth e-cigarette epidemic. And here's something.
Now, do you think this is because they're not registered with the FDA? Because there's several products that have come out after that date that have been registered with the FDA.
Here's what it is, because they had to be sold. What they're going to have to do is one of 2 things. Either 1, prove that it was on the market before August 8th to the FDA, and that they are in the process of a PMTA, or take it off the market until they get a PMTA. That's bottom line what they're going to have to do.
But don't you think there are hundreds of companies out there that have
done that? There is. There is. And, they're going to start with salt nic. I mean, we've said that on this channel from day one. Yes. They were going to start with salt nic, because that is where the issue lies the most. Except for there's another issue, and this is an issue that we've brought up on this channel, as well as many others have brought up. Another one that he had mentioned right after was some of the products noted in the warning letters carried names such as Frozen Hulk Tears, Mystery Pop, Majestic Mango, Neon Sours, Blonde Bombshell, Mammy Meringue, Sexy Senorita, and Yummy Gummy. The names are also what they're going after.
Yeah, especially the Hulk one. I mean, you're tackling all kinds of different things.
So, I mean, if you have, and I mean, I can say there is e-liquids out there with this name. If there's an e-liquid called Unicorn Poop or Unicorn Puke, there's one for both.
Yes.
You're going to get an FDA warning letter for those. I'll tell you right now, it's going to happen.
No, I agree. I've never seen so much love for unicorns outside the 14-year-old girl's bedroom as there is in the vape industry.
Oh, I know.
There's unicorn. There's actually a unicorn mech mod.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually a really nice looking mech mod too, but it's the unicorn. And unicorn milk used to be the bomb as far as the strawberry milk.
I loved unicorn milk from Cutwood.
Yeah.
That was that was actually the all-day vape that started me completely off cigarettes. It didn't do it completely. It took Smiley's Drama Queen, which is the exact same profile, or which was the exact same flavor profile, just stronger, to get me off completely.
But did you buy the product because it was a unicorn, or did you buy it because the flavor was great?
I bought it because of the flavor.
Right.
I didn't buy it because it said, "Oh, I'm a unicorn.
Right.
Let me fly."
Yes, I also have a PhD in unicorns, too. You can have a doctorate in things that don't exist. Ask all the Sasquatch guys.
I have a PhD in Harry Potter lore. No.
There you go.
I would not doubt if that becomes a actual thing within 30, 40 years.
Yes.
But
it's probably become a religion. J.K. Rowling is God.
I'm actually going to share the link. Let me. Oh.
I wonder if were there any salt nic devices or liquids available on the market prior to the gaming roll?
Only from Juul and anything that was in any salt nicks that were possibly in like a blue or something like that. That is all that was on the market. There really was not that many salt nicks on the market before August 8th.
So because that liquid was in those devices prior to that date, could Juul come out with 100 ml bottles of that liquid?
No, because 100 ml was not on the market.
Okay. Unless they had pre-authorization or they had already had that.
They had 30 ml bottles on the market. That we have proof of.
So Juul could monopolize the market with bottles of that liquid.
Yes.
Awesome. Not awesome. Very sarcastic.
Yeah.
That's not awesome. Okay? It's just not.
No, it's not. But, I mean, it's the fact. It's the downright fact. I mean, really, there wasn't... 90% of the liquids that are out today came out after August 8th.
So do you think that these companies are going to respond and remove these products, or are they just going to keep them on the market until they're forcibly removed?
That's a hard... Now, okay...
It's a question that has to be asked.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a flat-out answer or give you an example, especially of the Chinese market, of how they're going to handle this. Because I've been fighting with a company myself. I had a company contact me thinking of sending me a no vapor vape pod that it produced next to no vapor.
Okay.
Hey, good morning, Paige. How you doing this great morning? Well, I mentioned to her, I was like, are you guys planning on doing your PMTAs? Because in America, you have to have that done with it being a new product. And she's like, well, no PMTAs went through. It's too expensive. I was like, well, here's the thing. Let's really look at this. Which would you prefer? To put down a possible $1.5 million for 3 products. Well, a little more because of how the PMTA goes, but
Yeah, but that's probably close.
in China, because they have 3 products.
Right.
Then on top of that, be able to actually sell the product in America, or would you prefer to gamble your money by sending product over? Possibly, I don't know if they can fine overseas companies, but possibly have a fine coming from the FDA and from the ATF, and then on top of that, have an import ban. I mean, this company did not even know, and this shows you how little work this company does. Their salt nic level is 45 milligram.
Okay.
They had no idea that they could not sell 45 milligram in England.
Really? Yeah, their tops is 20.
Yeah, I said their top is 20. You don't go over that in England. They're like, oh, really? I mean, yes, their top is 20. You don't go over there. So if you're wanting to stick to 45, you can forget England. And if you're not going to do PMTAs, you'll probably get an import ban from here in America. So you have a choice. You can either do the PMTAs here and keep it at 45, or you can lower something and go down to 20 and just go to England, which is a smaller market.
Right. I mean, but there are a lot of other countries in the world that vape, and there are probably quite a bit of a market.
There's such a minuscule market from everywhere else. We are 40 to 50% of the market here in America. The last numbers I saw, we were 40 to 50% of the market.
Wow, I was unaware of those numbers. So.
Yeah, we are a large portion of the market. That's what people do not realize. These companies would be stupid not to do a PMTA and lose the U.S. market, with us being such a substantial part of the market.
I'd be in agreement with that. Now, talking about PMTAs, I have been getting some really good feedback from the companies that I purchased from for the stores.
Oh,
and
good.
A lot of them have either started the process or they're in conjunction with another company that is doing the process. A lot more than I was expecting. So that's been a big, at least sigh of relief that, it's not going to be, obviously they all won't pass, but the percentage of them that know about it, that are actually moving forward with that process, has been a lot higher than I was expecting. I would say probably from the companies that I personally purchased from, I would say probably 75% are on that track. They're heading down that road.
Now, do you deal with mostly bigger companies or mostly the
No, I deal with
companies?
Everything. Because for us, it's about the flavor. So I get, and this is really no joke, I get 30 plus new flavors to try every week from different companies. So I have to actually spread those out between all of my stores to have them try them, and then we decide on one new flavor every week to release. So it may be a big company, it may be a small company, it just all depends on what the flavor is like. So every time I order something now, that's the first question. Are you guys applying for a PMTA? Because I don't want to start a relationship with a company and then in a few months have to just not have that anymore.
Yeah. Now, here's kind of a question that may put you guys out there.
Fine.
Are you guys, because I know you own some of the liquids that you sell, like the ones I reviewed, are you guys going to do your PMTAs or just let those go?
The liquids that we provide are actually provided by a company.
Oh, okay.
I can't give out the names of the labs, but we don't manufacture anything.
Right.
So it's going to be up to the company that manufactures that liquid.
Are they planning on it?
The one is. The other one I'm pretty much going to break ties with, not for that reason, for other reasons, but I expect they were doing a lot of underhanded stuff. At one point, they'd asked us to forge some documents, and we decided that we probably would not go that route. So,
wow.
Yeah, there is some underhanded stuff trying to get through in the industry, and we try. Those of you that know our company, we try to stay above board as much as possible.
Yeah.
We've actually even added the new ad checker software to our site, so there won't be any. There's almost like a double verification for age now. And yeah, we've caught people that have tried this stuff. One of these kids used their YouTube email to on the order form, and we looked him up, and the kid's like 17, and he's ordered from us twice, and we're still keeping his money. Like, dude, all right, have your parents call us. We'll happily return this stuff. And he's like, don't worry about it. Just cancel the order. And these aren't small orders. These are like $300 orders. But he's trying to push this through. And I don't know if this is some kind of thing because I just saw recently, it got sent to me, an ad from my area that was looking for underage people to go into shops to buy liquid. This is something that the government is actually doing. Is they're sending out posts about trying to get 16 and 17-year-olds to apply to actually go in and buy products. So, there's a company that we have, and I can't say who it is, but we're probably going to break ties with them and go with one of the other ones. I just want to carry PMT-approved products, if that's the case, because it definitely keeps us out of harm's way.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to have to, let go of a bunch of liquid that we've already paid for, because that's a huge cut.
Oh, yeah.
You can't take that.
Especially given your all's taxes.
Correct. Yeah.
That is a huge cut to be taking.
Yeah, one of these episodes, I really want to kind of dive deep into the Ohio thing, because if we have any people that actually watch from Ohio, what's coming up, you have no idea. You think it's just a 10-cent per mil tax, and that is only the tip of the iceberg of the regulations they're putting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot with a lot of states, because a lot of people don't when it happened in Pennsylvania, it destroyed the industry in PA. West Virginia, our 7-cent a mil only bolstered our industry here. We've had shops opening since the 7-cent a mil tax.
Right.
Because that 7-cent a mil tax here is actually not that bad. I mean, I'm going to be honest. When I had my online store, I don't know how your all's goes. Well, yeah, we've talked about this. When I had my online store, the good part was I reported my taxes. I reported what I sold. I didn't have to have my person shipping it to me do it to take the tax. I paid the tax, and I just paid it on whoever I sold to in West Virginia. Luckily, I only had a couple people from West Virginia that purchased from me. Most of mine were from out of state, from Hawaii, from Pennsylvania, from New York.
Right.
I was getting people from all over America. And honestly, the only reason we closed was because I was doing straight drop shipment. And in all honesty, you don't know how hard it is to find some places to do drop shipment.
Gotcha.
And
but did each one of your distributors have to be approved and licensed by the state?
No.
Yep. See, that's just one more thing that and like I said, there's a lot that goes into this, and I don't want to give away a bunch of information, because many of the shops in Ohio are watching this. I want you to go out of business, because that's capitalism. I'm not going to give you that information until it's absolutely necessary. Because and seriously, if you're a shop in Ohio or a business in Ohio, do some research. Know what you're talking about. One of my guys went over to another shop just to kind of see how they were doing, and the kid behind the counter goes, "Oh man, we're on a buying freeze until November because the PDAs have expired." And I'm like, PDAs? What? He had no idea what he was talking about. He basically put a battery on the counter and says, "After October 1st, this is the only thing I'm going to be able to sell you." They just don't know, because they don't do the research. Yeah. He just was very uninformed. He thought he had, a handle on what was going on, but realistically he had none. So you're going to see a lot of shops in Ohio drop out from this. I was actually surprised New Jersey didn't have more of an issue, because they're dealing with a 9-cent per mil tax, or they were at least. You mean a
9-cent a mil tax? Yeah,
9 cent a mil.
That's why, everybody goes after me saying that I don't mind the per mil tax. But the thing is, what a lot of people don't think about, the liquid, you can take a little bit of a hit on liquid. You can't take a hit when it comes to hardware in the retail space. Hardware, you can't take a hit at all. When they hit Pennsylvania with that 40% tax,
Correct.
that was on everything. Hardware, liquids, everything. And it was killing business. They lost over 30% in the first year.
Yeah, dozens of shops closed in Pennsylvania right after that happened.
Over 100.
Yeah.
There were 300 shops, and they lost at least 30% of those.
Wow.
In that first year. Because of the 40% tax on vapor products.
And if it was just a tax that I had to collect every time I sold a bottle, it probably wouldn't be such a big deal. It's that big amount. I mean, guys, when I order liquid, I'm not ordering 100 bottles at a time. I'm ordering 1,000 bottles at a time. All right? So 1,000 times $10 for one shipment of product is a lot of money for me just to have sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if I could collect that tax like they do with marijuana, where it's at, the register when you're checking someone out. It would be a totally different situation. That's not how this works. Any bottle that I order, I have to pay the tax. And if that thing sits there for 2 years because the flavor doesn't sell, that money is still there. I still had to pay that. That's where it comes in. And the second thing is, it's online. Online is what causes all of these places to go out of business because they won't pay the taxes. They'll ship it to you tax-free. And the enforcement for those companies is very, very difficult.
Well, technically, this is what you need to look at the actual law, because I can bet you they have a little thing called unlicensed importer in there.
Yeah, you have to be licensed with the state to be able to sell, but it just really deals with wholesale. It
No.
doesn't deal with retail. At least from what I'm seeing.
With an unlicensed importer, normally, and this is how you can get on to your people saying, hey, buy in the store, do not buy online, because they did that, added the unlicensed importer up in PA, and technically when you purchase something online, you are responsible for 40% tax on the retail price.
Correct.
Because that is what you are getting it for. So, you can really go out and, you can tell people, look, if you don't report it, you could be charged with a crime if you don't report it. So,
I don't think anybody doesn't know that or at least expect that. I just think that it's just like downloading music where nobody thinks they're going to get caught.
And when the first person gets caught, everybody's going to be like, oh, shit.
And when you're buying 1 or 2 bottles that's getting shipped through the mail, it's not going to get tagged like it is when I'm buying boxes of stuff.
Right.
It's just all about the small numbers of these things is what causes this issue. And if they go to any little bit of stealth packaging, it's just going to pass right. Like they're not even going to take even a look at that. At least that's my opinion.
To be totally honest, if we could get rid of every single state's tax, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying this, if we could get rid of state tax for a federal across-the-board tax, where it was like cigarettes, you had to buy, in a sense, stamps.
Yeah.
And everything had to be marketed the correct way and everything else, I would support it. I know that sounds bad, but the thing is, then at least it's putting everybody on an even keel. Retail,
I would be fine with that
well
as long as the tax was
online.
just on nicotine-containing products.
Yes.
If you leave the non-nicotine and the devices out of that, because those devices can be used for no nicotine. And I've heard the arguments, even call-in show that Grim had the other day. The guy was like, I use zero nicotine because I'm fat, and it helps me curb my appetite for things. I'm not a smoker. I never have been a smoker. I use it for this reason. Why should I be taxed for something that has no nicotine in it? And I'm in 100% agreement with that. I think that is an overreach to deal with that. That's, I mean, obviously my opinion, but I really don't see that I'm in the wrong with that. Nicotine containing products, absolutely. But everything else needs to go by with no tax, because if you're going to start that, then you need to tax sugar and caffeine and all those other things
Oh, yeah.
are addictive substances. But if you're going to deal with the nicotine thing, and that's your whole premise with this, then deal with the nicotine. Leave the rest of the shit alone. You know, and unfortunately, you almost have to have this old head shop mentality where, you know, these products are not for use with marijuana. You know, this is that they've made that statement very clear to, you know, avoid any problem.
On the head shop stuff, this is for tobacco use only.
Correct. Yeah, and even if you make a whisper of that in the shop, they'll ask you to leave because they just don't want to have any issues with that. And that has worked for years.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of head shops, that's how they operate, and that has worked for a really long time.
That's why, honestly, I think that's what they're going to go to for the hardware. When everything happens with the FDA, they're going to go to, these products are for CBD and non-nicotine use only.
Yeah, it could just literally say, this product is not intended for use with nicotine.
Or not intended for use with tobacco products.
There you go.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Because, as everybody says, intended use.
Right.
I mean, is that...
My concern is the CBD side of this. Obviously, you can see the shirt I'm wearing today.
Oh,
but when they talk about vapor products, okay, CBD has nothing to do with tobacco. So you have to let us have that. That has to be a different area. You can't just lump all vapor products in together, just like the whole Wisconsin thing. 14 teenagers were sent to the hospital from vaping. But yeah, they bought underground THC cartridges that God only knows who put those things together, and they had problems. But that is never really mentioned in the article or in the title. It's all just demonizing vapor, and when people hear that, they think nicotine vapor. They don't even think about the other stuff that could be vapor.
Exactly. And I mean, there's some opinions I have that I'll talk to you off online, off being live, as in off the record.
Right.
About some CBD products that are not, in my opinion, not kosher.
Gotcha.
But I want to see your opinion on it. That's the reason
I've been having this talk all week with my employees, so we'll definitely talk about it. No, to ask you a question then, all right, they've sent out these letters to these 4 major companies.
Yes.
What do you think these companies are going to do?
Honestly,
are they just going to recall everything and say, sorry?
It depends on how long these companies have been around. That's the key. If these companies have been around since before 2016, they have an easy out that if they were smart, that they did. They have a receipt of them being sold and on the market before August 8th of 2016. And
it's going to be hard for pod systems.
Not really, because here's the thing. Because, now the pod systems, I could see that being an issue, but the salt nicks, no, I couldn't. Hey, Jay Jerry. Hey, Lori. I do want to say hi to you guys, but because with Jewel being Salt Nick, there was Salt Nick on the market. So yes, it wasn't that prevalent, but it could have been being sold in a local market and not being sold nationally, and then the company just grew as Salt Nick started becoming more popular. That could be what happened. And these companies, if they were around at that time frame, they could have a receipt that says they were sold before August 8th, 2016. If they have that, I would not doubt if the FDA says, well, where are you in the process of filing your PMTAs? And if they say, well, we haven't done that much, I look for the FDA to say, well, then you need to take your product off the market. Because
my real concern about the PMTA process is this. Those of you that don't know this, when marijuana was originally made illegal, they came out with the tax, the stamp act. Okay, so you had to purchase these little stamps for whatever you had. The problem was you had to have the product before you could get the stamp, and to have the product before the stamp was actually making it illegal. So they really didn't even make any stamps. And I'm wondering if this PMTA process is all just a ruse for them not to approve any products.
That is a possibility. But
that's the only thing that concerns me. It's like, yeah, you guys just spent all this money, we ain't approving shit. Just as a fuck you to the industry. Like, and I hope that's not the case, but I'm always that devil's advocate and thinking the conspiracy side of things. It's like, is this what they're doing? They're just making this process out and then go, well, nobody was good enough to be approved, so nothing's legal now.
I'm going to answer Jay Jerry because I think at least the Cool Fire 4, the original, I do believe was out before August 8th of 2016. And here's the reason I believe, and I think the Plus was. I'd have to look at because I have the Cool Fire 4 Stormtrooper, or I had the Stormtrooper edition. I had given that to a friend of mine that passed away, and I just never got it back from him. But I know the Cool Fire 4 was, and the main reason I know that is because it came out around the same time as the MPV3. And the MPV3 was the first good mod that I had. The very first good internal battery mod that I used my original, which this is going to date me, my original Atlantis. That's going to date my vape journey. Sing Callie, good to see you.
I'm going to bring out my Cool Fire 4 and my Atlantis Mega Zoo. Retro vaping.
But, and see, the sad part is, I have my Cool Fire 4 TC. You know what? I'm going to go back and look real quick, because I reviewed the Stormtrooper edition. So let me go back and look at my... You do some talking, and I'll go in and I'll actually look and see when that came out.
All right, so with this whole thing going on, like my opinion about this obviously is that I think letters are a waste of time. It kind of, to me, reminded me of the petitions that we send to the White House. I think there's going to be a lot of situations where people are going to look at these and go, well, when they get a little bit more stricter with this, we'll continue on with it. I think a lot of these companies, what they're going to do is this is a cash grab right now. They're going to try and make as much money as they can until that date where PMTAs are official and sell through the products. I have actually seen when I do my ordering, I can tell the companies that are not going to the PMTA process because they have dropped their prices drastically to eliminate the product that they have on their shelves. I'm not going to tell you which company, but I've actually been able to buy 60 ml bottles of a line that we carry for $3 a piece. That is insanely low for something that's in the 60 ml bottle. I mean, the bottle probably cost them, the majority of what that amount is. So it's obvious that some of these companies are jumping ship and they're trying to clear their inventory and at least retain, the money they have into this stuff before that happens. So if you're online and you see a company that has drastically dropped their prices, if you like that flavor, I would buy as much as you can because there's a good chance they're probably not going through the PMTA process. There's another company that will remain nameless. It's actually doing a retail of $11.99 for 120 mils. And this is a popular brand, so once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Their 60 mils went down to like $7, and then their 120s are like $11.99. That's an obvious thing to me to say, hey, you guys are definitely just trying to clear your stock before all of this happens.
Jay Jerry, I can give you an official answer. The Cool Fire 4 Plus was out because on May 10th of 2016, I gave my 1 month update on the Cool Fire 4 Plus Storm Edition, which was the Stormtrooper mod. So I did that on May 10th of 2016, and I received it from Anakin George after it had came out. So I know it was on the market. And shortly after that, I know that the other one came out, the TC. It came out around that same time, as well as the Endura T18, which is, honestly, it's been updated, but it is still a viable mod.
We sold thousands of T18s. Thousands. I think I still even have some of those tanks in the warehouse. Anakin makes great products.
Oh,
they really do. Like, I've been really, like, usually if they come out with something, I'm like, yeah, I can believe the quality, that's going to be good. I honestly can't think off the top of my head of any Anakin product that it was just like a total failure.
No.
It's one of those companies that you just don't see that from. Now, I don't go as far back as you do, but I'm trying to think of, and Geek Vapes to me is kind of the same way. I can't really think of any product they've had that's been like an absolute piece of crap. Most of the stuff that I see come from them is actually fairly decent.
Let's see.
Yeah, like if you're using a Baby Beast or something that's Baby Beast compatible, those super mesh coils from Geek Vape to me are the tops. Like I've switched a lot of people over from the Smoke Tech products and that just because I think their quality of their products is much higher.
The Aspire Triton, which was a good sub-ohm tank. I
was going to say Aspire, but they bring out so much stuff that they have had some real crappy products.
The Aspire Triton was good.
No, I'm not saying that that's one of them. I was really not a fan of the Breeze 2. The manufacturing quality, that was not very good.
But the original Breeze was amazing.
Yeah, and I still have original Breezes. Actually, we negated the Breeze 2 and brought back the Breeze 1 just with a much better product. And unfortunately, the Nautilus AIO is just basically another Breeze 2 that's got a little bit different design to it. So we brought some in, but it has not sold well at all. But the Breeze continues to sell well. I just don't like the fill style on it because you have to take that big wet stem out of it every time you want to refill your tank. So that's the only downside to that device. But other than that, it's a high quality product.
And I mean, honestly, if we had to go back to some of the old tanks, I mean, TFV4, it was a good tank.
Right.
The original Crown, it was an amazing tank.
Yeah, and then the Crown 2 just crashed and burned. I couldn't give those things away.
The RX200.
RX200 is a great device. Even though I'm not a huge Wismec fan, that's a really good device.
I'm looking at some of mine that were over 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Cool
when did the Nautilus come out?
Oh, Nautilus was way ahead of that.
Okay. Because, I mean, I think, worst came to worst, I could probably live off a Nautilus tank.
Cool Fire 4 TC100 was over 3 years ago when it came out, because I did a review on June 9th.
We're going to see a re-emergence of the Kanger subbox. Dude, I still see those things come in the store. That red and black is notorious. As soon as I see it, I know exactly what it is, and there are still people rocking those. For those of you out there, just my opinion, I'm not a huge Kanger fan.
Oh, I'm not either.
Had so many problems with those coming back in the stores. And that's what your average consumer is not going to know. Because, I mean, I'm seeing these products come back in the store and hearing about the people talking about them, so I have a better understanding about what products are actually decent and aren't. There's some people that hated certain things, and I'm like, wow, for the majority of people, that was a good product. Kind of like the Baby Beast, the big Baby Beast. I mean, there were people, obviously, that had issues with leaking tanks and stuff like that. But the majority of people still use that style of tank. And if it wasn't good, why did so many companies copy it? You know how many products are available to use with the Baby Beast coil? I mean, even that new Owl uses Baby Beast coil. I mean, you could put a Baby Beast coil in it. So obviously that was a outstanding product in that period of time.
Oh, yeah.
Just the coils didn't last. I mean, I was getting 3, maybe 4 days out of a coil. And I had somebody the other day laugh. I was laughing because they said, well, this pod only lasted a week. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? Like that was pretty normal back in the day. Like my print stick, oh my God, that thing 3 days, and I had to throw the coil. I mean, it's just like every 3 days you had to change that coil out. I think we've gotten spoiled with things like the Falcon, where I can get, 10, 12, 2 weeks, maybe longer, depending on which one it is.
You don't want to know how long I got out of crown coils.
It depends on which crown we're talking about.
The
crown. Original? Okay,
the
gotcha.
crown. I was getting 2 to 3 months out of a coil.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Now, mind you, I used a very clean e-liquid. That is the problem. A lot, now, like Cutworth Unicorn Milk, destroyed my coils.
Oh, of course. Super sweet.
Yeah. But when it came to, because at that time I was using a lot of Steve's liquids. And his liquids were very clean.
But you know that going into it. If you've been in vaping for any length of time at all, hey, this is going to last longer in my tank, but this stuff tastes really good, so I know that I'm going to go through a coil a lot faster.
Exactly.
If you try anything with salted caramel, if you get 2 days out of that coil, be happy. We used to carry a salted caramel. Yeah, it was insane how quick. I mean, I had people come in and go, "This only lasted a day." I'm like, "Yeah, it's that. If you like that flavor, you're going to deal with that problem."
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
That's why we stopped carrying the chubby line, because literally most people that would come in would get a day or two out of a coil. Yeah, well, this stuff is delicious. I'm like, yeah, but the sweetener is what's gunking up your coil. That's why you're going through coils. So it's your choice. You can have something that's amazing flavor and you're going to spend more money on coils, or an okay flavor and you're going to get a lot more time out of your coil. You just have to understand that's what it is. Once you understand that, it's usually not a big deal. You're like, yeah, I'm going to use this. I know I'm going to go through a coil, but so what? I like this flavor.
Now,
or if you're a dripper, then you can just clean your coils and move on. But not all of us have time to build all the time or re-wick every day.
I'm checking something. I want to see.
So my question, I guess, is with this enforcement, where is the money coming from to do the enforcement? Because I know the FDA's budget is not very good as far as coming from the government. Are big pharma and places like that going to be able to give them money to help with this enforcement?
The Center for Tobacco Products gets money as it is. They have money budgeted for enforcement, and that's where it comes from.
But how much? Any idea of what their budget actually looks like?
I have no idea.
I mean, because when you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of liquid companies that you do enforcement on, the dollars have to start adding up. They're not getting anything, and do we start, pulling money away from defense and all these other things to support this so that they can, have the people in place to support it? Because I doubt that they have that kind of personnel on staff already to do any type of enforcement and stuff like this. And we've seen this in other areas of government where it's like, they have to inspect so many drilling rigs every year. So if you do the math, it's like each inspector would have to, inspect 3 rigs a day, 6 days a week every year to fulfill what's actually on the books. And we all know that that's insane. That can't happen. So, when does the rubber meet the road? And it's like, well, we just don't have enough money to do this enforcement. And then does that come down to local state governments or, local city governments to pick up the slack when that happens? Well, you are intently looking at something.
Trying to pull up the actual budget proposal that they sent for 2020.
I mean, just think about the logistics of that, because you're not only talking about salaries, you're also talking about vehicles and travel and all kinds of other things that you're adding into that just to do an enforcement on something that, so I think a lot of these companies are probably going to roll the dice and let it ride as long as they can until they're actually forcibly removed. And they'll be like, okay, well, we did this as long as we could. And that's not good, because that kind of, causes problems elsewhere. But I think there's a little social disobedience there that they're just saying, this is healthier than smoking, so we're going to do it as long as we can.
Basically, they get 600 for the Family Smoking Prevention Tobacco Control Act. It's $611,979 is what was enacted. The actual was $614,794, so they went over budget.
$600,000, that's it?
And with the president's budget, with the added 100,000, that would give them 747,055.
Yeah, but then you're only talking about. I mean, let's be honest here. Let's say that the average person makes 50 grand a year. So you're only talking about 32 people to police this across the United States? Are you kidding me?
And they get that through competitive grants, contracts, and direct federal.
See, and there's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
This isn't coming from taxes. This is coming from grants. Well, where do those grants come from? And then other contributions from, I don't know, let's say big tobacco or big pharma that might want to jump into this and help promote this because all it does is make their products worth more. That's not enough. 32 people, or let's say 40 people across 50 states. That's not even a person per state. How in the world are they going to be able to do that? That's what I'm saying. These letters are just a scare tactic, and they might work with some companies, but that's why they do that, because they know they have no way they could possibly enforce this legitimate. And then how are they going to do it? I mean, is it police departments? Is it the army? Is it, what other, who's the authority figure that's going to be able to actually forcibly remove this?
They will use health departments, local health departments, and people local.
Yeah, because those guys are very well budgeted and staffed.
But that's, they contract it out to them.
Right. Wow. No way.
Because the Department of Health and Human Services is already paying them money. So they can pay them a minuscule amount extra, and they will do part of it.
Right.
So, I mean, it's because a lot of your local health departments already have tobacco issues. They already have a department for tobacco. So they
wouldn't we want those people to focus on the cigarette issue and the combustible products? I know you do. I'm just bringing it up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think they know that that's where they need to focus their time. Like, these people should be praising us for lowering the smoking levels to an all-time low in history, but instead they want to demonize us and take us away. That's just insane.
And in 2017 to 2018, 3,537 civil money penalties were put out there.
How much?
3,000. Now, this is just the amount, not the actual amount they got in for it. Okay. 3,537 civil money penalties were put out there.
That wouldn't even pay for their gasoline for the year.
Well, here's the thing. Say for instance, each one was $100,000. Not saying it would be. I know they do it in a scale, but say each one was $1,000, or say each one was $1,000. That right there is $300,000.
You're right.
If you
but it's
really
still pennies.
Yeah.
It's still nothing.
But
in the grand scheme of things, it's still nothing. And what's the most expensive penalty you've seen for a first-time offender that sells its products? Probably the highest I've seen, it might be $1,000.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's in the Tobacco Control Act.
But most of them are 300.
And I'm not going to name a number that I can't remember.
No, and that's okay. I just, that's where this is. There are three things that motivate people: money, hunger, and fear. Those are the three things that motivate people. So fear of jail time obviously would be a much more a better deterrent for that. The money that they do, I mean, even the FDA fines are ridiculously low. I mean, I've seen FDA fines that were like $284. Who's going to stop doing something that they're making that much more in a day?
Oh, yeah.
I would budget that in. I'm like, yeah, every month we're going to have to pay a $300 fine with the FDA, but we make way more money than that. And think about these convenience stores that are like, shit, for the money I'm losing on tobacco products, I'm just going to keep selling this stuff to kids because $300, who cares about that? If you want to enforce this stuff, the penalties have to be so severe that it makes you stop. If you get caught a second time selling to a minor, we rebuke your business license. You can no longer that's enough of a fear and enough of a money, encouragement to stop doing that.
Oh yeah.
But that's where for me, that's where the rubber meets the road. It's like, do they have the money there to actually do this enforcement? And from what I'm getting from you is that they don't. Not even close.
No, but if
this
they
would
go
take
out and
hundreds of millions of dollars a year to do that.
Oh yeah, and that's why they want $100,000 to hire more people.
I haven't heard much about that in months, though.
Well, see, here's the thing. And this is where it's going to be very technical.
Okay.
My gut tells me, now mind you, this is my opinion. It's not law. My gut tells me it's not going to go through. My gut tells me what's going to happen is we're going to get through this period. They're going to come back, not get a budget pushed through, and then an omnibus bill will come up. This will get removed from the omnibus bill, and then they'll throw it out because I don't think the Senate will approve the 100,000. I really
especially
don't.
Not in an election year.
No. I really do not think the Senate's going to approve $100,000 extra for the FDA. Even though the president is requesting it, he is just, and this is what people do not understand. The president's budget, the way it is made, is his heads of the departments come to him, tell him what they need, and then he throws it in a budget. That's all it is. Trump is running the government like Reagan did. For anybody that has studied Reagan, if you studied Reagan, you know he's running it a lot like Reagan. He does not worry about all the details. He lets everybody else handle the details. There's an old story I have that Trump is running this a lot like, and it'll kind of explain it. The Secretary of State is handing Reagan a white paper for national defense. And Reagan flat out says, well, that's a lot of white paper. How many? Because he hands him a stack this thick. He's like, okay. Do you have anything shorter? He's like, I've got the 30-page outline. Reagan's like, can you shorten it any more? He's like, I can get it down to 1 or 2 pages. He's like, okay, 1 page. That's all he wanted to see.
What is it, a resume? I mean, that's what I'm saying. And that's what we've talked about before, is that a lot of these bills and things that go through, these people are not reading this entire bill before they vote on this stuff. There's not enough hours in the day to be able to read every one of these and understand every line that's going into them. And, a lot of times you see them trying to sneak stuff in because they know they're not going to read all the way through. Hopefully the guy signing the thing is reading it all the way through. But other than that, I just don't see it.
Yeah, and Singh Callie makes a good point. What they're going to do is they're going to more attack imports.
Yes.
They're going to step up the border patrol because they already know the companies that ship in stuff.
Right. But it's just like any other company, you just change your name.
This electronic parts and stuff like that, they're going to start checking it. No, J. Jerry, because they're going to go... Basically, what you're going to have to do is drive over into Canada, purchase, and bring it back. You're going to literally have to go over into Canada and come back. Because,
I can tell you right now, I tried to get some e-liquids from Canada that got stopped at the border.
Yeah.
I can't get.
Hey, Racer,
and
good
that's
to see you.
happened right like in the last month.
Yeah, and they'll have actual FDA agents to deal with domestic juice liquid companies. And then any liquids coming from overseas, which we have a lot of liquids that come from overseas, not just England. We have them coming from the Philippines, everywhere else. I mean, there's one that's a Coca-Cola that literally looks like a can of Coca-Cola that comes from the Philippines. What they will actually do, and this is the sad part, they will have nicotine-sniffing dogs.
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right, but that's just thinking about the life that I've led and thinking about the whole marijuana side of things and thinking that that's where we're at with this just really makes me laugh out loud. It's like I never thought I'd get to the point where I had to buy e-liquid out of the trunk of a car, but I could walk into the nicest facility and buy an ounce of marijuana. Like, it's just like my brain has a hard time wrapping around that.
I need to buy a new trench coat. You know why? That way, all my DIY I can put inside the trench coat and be like, hey, man, the store's open. What do you want?
The old, do you want to buy a watch philosophy?
Yeah. Just have all my e-liquid in my trench coat and be like, hey, man, store's open. What do you want?
And I know we're laughing about this. It's because you either laugh or cry in this situation. Because it's just like, it's so ridiculous. But yet, that's exactly what's going on.
And guys, just so you know, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Anthony. Get you one of these. He has these over on his site. I know he has up to 3X because that's what I'm wearing today.
Yeah, and we have hoodies too. And
I
went to big boy sizes. There's 2X, there's 3X, both available in the hoodie and the shirts because I'm a big guy, and I'm like, I hate it when they leave me out of the mix. Like I can't, like this shirt I'm wearing right now. The company that we're buying this stuff from, I'm like, you got any 4X shirts? And they're like, no, but we'll make you one. I'm like, you better.
And it's vapersone.com.
Yeah, vapersone1.com.
I had to give you a shameless plug because of the shirt.
Yeah, no, and I love those shirts. I mean, that was something that we talked a lot about. But with this this year being a presidential election type of year, we wanted you to know. I want vapors to stand together.
Yeah.
I know that right now there is somebody who is putting together a rally for DC.
It ain't going to work. I'm
still going to go. I'm still going to show my support because that's how much I believe in this industry. And the unfortunate thing is, yes, if it doesn't have the response like it should, that's on everybody that's watching this show.
Well,
that's on everybody.
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Anthony. This is why I say it ain't going to work and I ain't going to support it. Because in order for us to make any leadway now, had this happened about 4 or 5 years ago, or had this happened before the FDA final rule, we could have made some leadway. Had this happened when we had HR 2058 or HR 1136, I think it was 36 or 56, had this happened during that time period, we may have been able to make some leadway. But now, the only way we will make leadway, do you really think they can get 20 to 50,000 people in DC?
I think if they don't, then we should just all close up.
You're not going to get 20 to 50,000 people. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I'm going to give you this argument, okay, because I go to this a lot on my show. If we felt that way, that things could never change, then we would never have had a civil rights movement. And I know that seems extreme, and I don't even like putting us in the same category, but with the number of people that are going to be affected by this, it's getting close to those numbers. And if you're out there and you're not willing to fight for this, then just stop. Just go back to smoking and die. That's how I feel about this. Like I'm done being nice about this shit. And if you're not willing to stand up, I've never been an advocate for anything in my life other than this. Yeah. I never even watched the news on a regular basis until I got into vaping. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm a vapor now. That means I have to be an advocate. Unfortunately, yes, because you have found this religion, if you will, of people who know that there's a better way. All I want to know is that if they get the truth out and you can make a logical decision with all the information and you say no, then I'm okay with that. I could live with that. But the problem is that the ignorance level, which is obvious in those hearings, is so high that people don't really have the full story. If you have the full story and you still decide no, then that's fine. The other point I want to make is laws are made by people. Okay? That means the laws can be changed by people. Okay? I don't really care what's happened in the past, because if we keep going back to that, we've got a whole lot of other things that we can go with that. If enough people stand up and just say, no, I don't care what law you put into place, I'm going to use this drinking fountain, or I'm going to use this restroom that says whites only, because I've had enough of this. And this is the same thing with vaping. I'm not going back to combustible products.
Oh, me neither.
Okay? No matter what you do, I'm going to continue to do this. And that means that you're going to put me in jail, so be it. Because I'll tell you what, you'll be on every social media outlet, because as soon as I'm in there with my plaid jacket and my fucking glasses on, it'll go viral. And every guy that I know in the industry is going to put that somewhere. I am legitimately trying as hard as I can to get on an actual news program. We have some access to some of the NBC News affiliates here. I'm going to do everything I can to get on there with a doctor, and hopefully that's something that goes viral, because the truth is the main reason why this has not changed. People have a bad perception of vaping. Over 80% of people think that vaping is more harmful than smoking, and they need the facts to make a logical decision. And all of these mom and pop organizations that say this stuff is bad for kids, then discipline your freaking kids and learn that a flash drive is not this long. Okay? You are turning a blind eye to something that could really hurt your kids. If there was a small flask in their bag that looked like a flash drive, you would be up in arms about this crap. All right? This is not what this is. There are so many more dangerous things out there, and we cannot live all of our lives by what somebody under the age of 18 thinks. There were a lot of things that you and I both thought when we were under the age of 18 that were totally ridiculous, that we don't think anymore. That's why they're not adults yet. So let's not make every governmental decision about people that are under the age of 18 when the majority of people are over the age of 18.
Oh, yeah. But
now stop preaching.
But see, here's the problem. And this is why I say we would not be able to get the people. It's sad to say, but I'm not going to say 90%, because it's probably not 90. Probably not even 90. A lot of your shops are not like yours.
I know.
A lot of your shops are just there for the paycheck.
They are.
And the thing is, without shops preaching it to every single customer, and without every single, it's sad to say it, but without every single Instagram person and every single YouTuber and everybody else pounding it, because this is part of the problem of what we've hit in the past. Because people thought this up back in 2015 and 2014. And the response from our advocacy organizations was, no, we don't want to do it. Now that it's the 9th hour,
right,
they want to get off their ass and do it.
Yes.
Some of them are supporting it. Some of them still are not supporting it.
I know.
And the thing is, had they done it then, it would have made a difference. Now,
right,
with so few people being willing to talk like you and I are today about advocacy, and like we do you talk about it 5 days a freaking week, which I could never do. I do it at least 2 or 3 days a week. But without people doing it all the time, every time something comes up, bringing it up to their people, without people doing that, and I'm talking every single YouTuber, including Rip Trippers, because he doesn't do it unless he gets paid.
Yes.
And a lot of your YouTubers have said flat out they are not good with this kind of stuff, and they don't even want to touch on it.
Right.
And that it bores their people. I mean, heck, we've got 11 people in here, which is a good showing for this channel. 11 people is a good showing for a show. But this is only 11 people that we reach today. Imagine that they talk about this, at least a little of this, on every single show that has 300 to 400 people watching.
No, and I totally agree.
That's the difference. Unless you actually get those people do not want to get off their ass and work for themselves. They want everybody to do everything for them. Just like the guy from the Vaping Militia one time told me. 99% of the work is done by 1% of the people. And it's still that way.
Yes.
That is what gets frustrating as an advocate.
I think people out there think that because it's healthier and because the truth will eventually come out, that this will all get fixed on its own, and that's why they don't want to get involved. And I'm telling you right now that is not the case.
No.
We live in a capitalistic society, and these big companies with big money that can throw around are going to do everything they can to eliminate the competition. They just are going to do that. And that's if you guys think that this is a health move or something else, it's not. This is all about the dollars. This is moving those dollars that you're spending on this over to them. That's all this is really about. And I will tell you this, and he's absolutely right. If you come into a vapor store and you ask a dumb question, you're going to get bombarded with truth. I mean, we give out, we have little cards at the register that we give out to almost every customer that have the senators, that have their phone numbers, that have all that information on there. So you have no excuse not to have that information. And we've had people call directly from the store. I have a few video clips of that we have saved up. The people have actually put it on speakerphone and talked to those representatives right from the store. And I bet 90% of other vape shops are not doing anything close to that. So you're absolutely right about that. Don't come in one of my stores and ask dumb questions, because I'm telling you, the lowest paid sales associate is more informed than the highest paid sales associate in most of your other stores. Okay?
I mean,
all the people that work for us are not doing it for the money. They're doing it because they love this industry and they know it's the right thing.
And I mean, see, that's an issue I run into here locally. There's maybe one or two good shops here locally that push advocacy. I walked in one just a couple weeks ago that was a brand new shop. I had called because I was considering trying to apply there. I decided not to. I walk in and I talk to the person working there, and I ask him, how many of these are doing PMTAs? He's like, huh?
Yeah.
I walk in there and I'm like, I'm not very happy with a lot of the liquids that you're carrying. And then I also ask him, I'm like, what would you recommend to a beginner vapor? And what's he go to? He goes to a high-priced mod and a TFV12. I mean, that is not...
TFV12.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, are you
that
wanting...
That would kill a new vapor. There's no way they'd be able to handle that.
And that's what I asked him. I was like, are you wanting to keep customers? That is not what you go to. You go to one of these Aspire Breezes, or you go to... And he had all the pod systems there. But he was going to the biggest juice guzzler that he had.
Right. Yeah.
Because it blew clouds. He's like, that's what most people want, is the clouds. I'm like, you're not getting the point. It is not about the clouds. It is about moving people from smoking to vaping. That is what this is about.
Yes. No, I'm in total agreement with you. A couple of things that we used to do, one of the things we still do, but the other one we don't. We used to give a 30% discount for a first-time customer because we wanted to be able to get them on that without having to kill their pocketbook.
Yeah.
It cost us a lot of money when we did that. When pod systems came on the market, they were so inexpensive that it didn't really feel like it was a necessity. The other thing that we still do is we have a tasting bar, but we have every style of product up there. So you can try all of the products and decide which one that you like. Because from behind the counter, you can't explain how something hits. You have to experience it to know if it's something that's going to work for you. Is a pod system best for you? And I have guessed wrong. I can't even tell you how many times. I had like a 60-year-old woman that came in, and I thought we were going to put her on like a little T18 mouth-to-lung stick. So I had her try the different ones. And we got all the way up to the Prince stick, which we used to carry on our tasting bar. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to provide quite a bit of vapor. And she tried it. She's like, oh, my God, I love this. This is the one I want. Now, to think that I'm going to sell a 60-year-old woman who has never vaped before a Prince stick was just out of my mind. But because she had an opportunity to try it, that's what she went to, and she's still vaping today because of it.
Yeah.
So don't always assume that somebody's going to want something, just because of who they are. Let them try the products, because whatever they like is what they're going to stick with, and that's how you get them off of the combustibles.
Right.
How many people have went back to smoking cigarettes because that vape that they had wasn't satisfying because they didn't have the right product?
Right.
It wasn't because vape is not satisfying. It's because you had the wrong product.
Another point with that, though, is when they first come in, a lot of times a new vapor does not know what they need.
That's correct.
Because a lot of people, especially the generation before me, is big on YouTube. And,
yes.
They will go and, that's the one thing about my generation and earlier. We actually, a lot of times, will research stuff out before we come. And a lot of people, the thing they want is those big clouds. That's what they want to come in for. But it doesn't always work for everyone because you can't handle those big clouds at first. So when I worked in a vape shop, honestly, I was working there during the original AIO. If you remember the original AIO.
I do.
I was working there during that time period, right after that came out. And I'm like, look, because I had someone come in and say, hey, I saw this on YouTube. I asked them who they saw it from. And, of course, I pitched this channel, and they became a subscriber. But I was like, look, right now, I'm not here just to make a sale to you. A lot of shops would be here to sell you the most expensive thing and not care how it affects you. I'm going to tell you right now, that is not what you need right now. What you need right now, let me ask you this. How many packs of cigarettes do you smoke a day? If they tell me a pack or less, I'm like, okay, Baby Beast, maybe. Because that was also during the time of the Baby Beast.
Yeah. AL85s were really popular.
And I never would put them in an external battery mod to start off.
Right.
I'd always go an internal battery. And I'd be like, okay.
Because it was familiar to them like a cell phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because there was no chance for user error with the battery. That was my big issue. There was no chance for user error with that battery. And
so I'm going to go ahead.
So many people would buy them and want to charge the batteries in the mod. And I'm like, no, we do not recommend that. We recommend buying an external charger.
Yeah, sending that power through the chip is not
But flat out, I would get them in a Baby Beast. And at that time, it was the Mini RX or the Nugget or one of those.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, try this. And if it doesn't work, when you're first starting, sometimes you want to try out multiple styles. We didn't have what you guys had to where you could try out multiple different types of devices. But I was like, here's what, because most of them were at least a pack a day. I'd put them in a 18 milligram. Normally, I'd like to do a 12, but we didn't have any 12s. Unless they went a house juice, which a lot of them did, so I'd put them in a 12. Right. If they were a pack a day. And I'd say, and try this for a week or two. If it doesn't work for you, I'll tell you what. My next payday, I will buy that off of you.
Yeah. I've made that many
90% of the time, they came back and said thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
I only had to buy back like 2 devices.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, and I'm glad you brought this up, because this is a philosophy that I kind of put into place when I came on board with the company. A couple of things. Number one, coming into a vape shop is kind of like scary at the first time. I mean,
yes, it is.
And I always equate it when people come in the door for the first time, I try and kind of relax them by saying it's kind of like going to Weight Watchers, and I've told this to my associates. It's kind of like going to Weight Watchers for the first time, and as soon as you walk through the door, somebody goes, "How much do you eat?" We changed our philosophy about how to deal with new customers by basically going, "Oh, you're a new customer with us? Come sit at the taste bar." They can sit down, they can relax, they can try vaping, basically with no cost involved with it, and see if it's something for them. And once they're relaxed, then you start asking the questions about, we want to make sure that this is going to work for you. Approximately how many cigarettes are you smoking a day or a week? Because we want to be able to get your nicotine level at the right one. At that moment in time, they vape, they understand about what's going on with the product, they think it's something that might work for them, and then they're more honest with you about it. So when you get a new customer that comes into your shop, don't just immediately attack them, because they're always going to say half of whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody smokes 2 packs a day, they're going to probably like a quarter pack a day, and then you give them a 3 nic, and then they go, "Well, this isn't satisfying." Well, yeah, because you didn't get the right information to start this conversation. So I actually have a sales associate test that you have to pass before you become an actual sales associate out of training. And that is the first question on the test. If a new person comes in who has never vaped before, what do you do? And the answer is sit them at the tasting bar. Let them try it. If they decide after trying it that this is not for them, no hard feelings.
Yeah.
I don't care what you use to do this, but it allows them to be relaxed. It's just like kind of sitting at a bar. And if you see our bars, that's really what they look like. You come in, you sit down at the bar, you relax, we talk, we joke, and then I can kind of get into the deep part about what's going on. Setting up a new customer at one of our stores is a good hour to 2 hour process.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't like 15 minutes, you come in, you leave, you're done. If you know about vaping, sure, you can get in and out pretty quickly. But a new person has tons of questions, and they're afraid to ask because they don't want to take your time. But if you're just sitting there having a conversation, you're relaxed, they're going to ask all of those questions that they want answers to, that they don't know where to get it from. Well, I've heard about popcorn lung. I've heard about, there's all of this lead and formaldehyde and all these kind of things. And I can answer these questions in a way that they go, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. There's formaldehyde in baby formula." I'm like, yeah. So there are acceptable levels of these things that we just let slide by. But that name, lead and formaldehyde, are scary to people. They're like, "Oh my God, if it's got that in it, I don't want it." But there's never been on a pack of cigarettes where it lists all the chemicals that are in that, because the cigarette companies know that would scare the shit out of people and they'd stop buying.
You know what else scares a lot of newcomers? I don't know if it happens with your shop, but I know I've had the complaints. And that's when it gets too cloudy.
Yes.
When you overcloud a store, it kills it. And that's why we always told people, or we always told the staff, if there is at least 2 customers in there, be very limited on how much you hit your vape.
You should see our exhaust systems. We pull that cloud out of there in a hurry. And it's actually for that reason. The number one thing that always makes me smile, though, is when you get a new customer comes in the door and they're like, "Man, it smells great in here." And I always make the comment, it's like, "You never said that when you went to a smoker's house, did you?" And they're like, "No." It's like, that's really what vapor smells like? I'm like, yeah, it smells great. I mean, when's the last time you went to a bowling alley and said that? And people start going, "Well, yeah, that makes sense. And you're saying I can use this inside and it's going to smell like this?" I'm like, yes. That's the best part about vaping. Because those of us that live in the Midwest and where it gets down to like -4 degrees and you're sitting out in your van, freezing, trying to have a cigarette, the terror and the pain that comes along with that.
I mean, hell, they let me
vape in the house.
You're gonna laugh at this. I don't even have to work in a vape shop to vape inside at work.
That's great.
My work, because it's kind of funny. My boss vapes. She uses just a pen vape, but she has flat out said she doesn't care if we vape in the office as long as we're not smoking in the office.
And what's wrong with that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm different than a lot of people because I watch everybody else that vapes in our in our house, and they don't watch who they vape around. Me, I'm one of those. I know who I work with. I know who is not good or who doesn't like vaping. Or like, for instance, my immediate boss who doesn't vape, she's pregnant right now. So when she's there and two people that don't vape or smoke or anything, when they're there, I just walk out the side of the building.
Yeah, you're just being respectful.
Exactly, but there's a lot of people that are not like that. And Wendy, I've got a good story. I've told this multiple times, but I'll tell it again since you're in here and since you brought that up. You know, I was in another vape shop. I've found a lot of the weird vape situations. I was in a vape shop, and an individual tried to sell someone a Noisy Cricket
Oh, God.
with a TFV4, and they were a brand new vapor.
Oh, my God.
Because the vapor came in and said, I want this and this.
Oh, God. Just sold him a hand grenade.
And I flat out stopped them before he started ringing that up. And I said, I have a question for you. Do you want to blow your hand off?
Yeah.
She's like,
oh, my God.
And it was a girl, too.
Right.
She didn't know any different. And she's
No.
like, no. I'm like, you do realize that the way you're purchasing that, yes, I understand you may have seen it and like both products, but you do realize that is pretty much a bomb that you are putting in your hand. And she's like, huh? I'm like, yes, because of that tank can cause a short the way it is made with that mod.
Yeah.
Here's what you need. And I literally pointed to something that was like $40 cheaper because the Noisy Cricket had just came out.
Yeah.
And I pointed to something else, and I was like, that will still work with that tank, but you can control the temperature, you can control the wattage, and it's not that type of a mod. The store clerk was ready to make that sale. And they looked at me. If looks could have killed, I would have been dead right then.
Yeah,
and
but you shouldn't care because you saved her life.
I didn't. And I looked at him and I said, don't worry, I'll be calling your manager tomorrow because I do know him. And I knew the owner of the shop. And I'm not talking about that immediate shop. I knew the owner of the company. Well, let's just say that person within 2 days did not work for the company anymore.
Yeah, that's scary. And that's the thing. When you get these clerks in sometimes because of the low wages you have to pay, they're just not the top tier people that you really want to have in there.
Only reason I was in there,
Wow,
I was in there getting 28 gauge Canthal. That was the only reason I went there, because the next day was VCCPA, and I was going to build an RDA for a friend of mine that was going to use one of my mods to go to the conference, and I was building them an RDA at a higher ohm. That way it would hit better, because they were vaping on something that was a lot lighter, more mouth to lung, and I said, you know what, so that you don't have to use the tanks they have there, and so that you can taste everything no matter what, even if they don't have a taster, we're going to go ahead and get one of my RDAs built for you. And I built the RDA that night, and they used it that day, and I broke it down and cleaned it after we got back. But, you know, that's part of the thing. I'm kind of happy that I had to go in for that 28 gauge wire.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that person would have been screwed, glued, and tattooed. And at that time, I was just using 20 gauge wire. So 28 gauge was nothing for me at that time.
Well, yeah, and two things I want to bring up real quick. Number one, I have let several people go for being what I call the used car salesman type of employee. where they're just more about, because we don't pay on commission. So there's no reason for you to, want that higher sale to, put somebody into danger. So that's happened. I have let people go for that reason. But number two, and just because of the time we live in now, Google reviews and reviews of shops are very important. Now, what I will tell you is if you go onto these shop sites and you look at these reviews, you will be able to tell right away the shops that have people there that are knowledgeable and aren't. But I would also encourage you to read the bad reviews, because a lot of times what the deal is it's not a bad review on the shop. It's a customer who doesn't understand what they're buying or didn't understand the product, and they said, this guy was rude and all these other things. No, this guy was trying to save your life. Like, if he was stern about it, it was because he was trying to save your life. He was telling you that combination of products is a bad idea, and I'm not going to sell that to you. And I've seen that on our own sites. We've gotten some bad reviews for things, and when you actually read the review, you're like, well, this person's an idiot. Like, there's a reason why we don't do that. There's a reason why we don't take products back after they've been opened. There's a reason why we ask you what kind of device you're using with what battery. Because we know that that's not a good combination of things to have together. So just because a company has some bad reviews, don't take that as a negative thing. Look at the person that's reviewing it. But the one thing is that I always say is most people get on there to make bad reviews. 99% of your customers who are happy with what you're doing are not going to take the time to get on there and do a good review.
Yeah.
But the ones that are upset, I made this old joke years ago, is do you know why fast food employees have name tags? So that you know who to call and complain about. Because you're not going back to McDonald's and going, hey, is Roberto working today? He makes a hell of a burger.
Yeah.
That's not the case. They put that on there so you know who to complain about. So you're going to see those types of things in there. But if you're seeing more good reviews than bad ones, and you're seeing like this individual person helped me do this, blah, 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 they took the time to learn their name, or they've been a regular customer and it's just been like, hey, man, how's it going? If you're going to a local vape shop and they remember your name, that's a positive thing. Those people really care about you. Because if it's just you're the average customer that comes in and they never remember what you buy, or they never remember the flavors that you like, they're just in it for the paycheck. A lot of our employees are like that. I've seen situations where a truck will pull up outside, and one of my employees will go over and grab the bottle of Skittles liquid and this particular coil and set it on the counter. And as the guy walks in, he's like, I need oh, never mind, you already got it ready. That's the kind of shops.
I had a lot of customers that I had that with, and then there was actually a customer that my boss loved me because I closed a lot of nights. But if I would be closed down, and especially if it was somebody that had a tank that I already had, and say for instance they had just ran out of coils, I'd already shut down the register, and I had a coil with me, I'd say, I'll stick around for another 20 minutes. If you can't get here before we close, or since we're closed, I'll stick around for at least 20 minutes. If you'll come by, I have a spare coil for that tank. Come and get it, and I'll give it to you with no charge until morning when you can come. That's the difference, and that goes a long way with customers.
Oh, huge. Yeah, absolutely. and the one thing that never really gets talked about very much when we talk about all these stores closing like in PA, people are like, well, I'll just buy my stuff online. Well, that's fine for you because you already understand vaping. The reason for the brick and mortars is more about education and getting new people to make the switch. Yeah, if you're a smoker, you're not going to go on Element Vape or even vapors1.com and buy products because you have no idea what you're doing. And it's overwhelming. The number of products is insane.
I did.
Right, but I mean, the average customer.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you still did research before you purchased something.
Most of my research was right here, YouTube.
Yeah, right. But you're still not getting all the facts. You're still not. There's going to be questions you can't ask. If you're watching a replay of a video, you can't go, hold on a second, I have a question about that particular point. Or when you go into a brick and mortar, most of those guys are in there, like I said, they're not there to make money. They're in there because they believe in what we're doing. And those are the reasons why brick and mortar prices are a little bit more. You have to pay for that overhead. You have to pay those labor costs. You have to pay electricity and pay rent and all those kinds of things, where a website's not going to have that. So once you're in the industry and you're buying from online, I understand why that's the case. But understand that if your local vape shop goes out of business and you're like, well, I'll just buy online, so you don't really see the problem. The problem is the new conversions.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be able to understand that that is the biggest thing that we get upset about as retailers, is not being able to provide that for our customers.
Yeah,
you know,
the only
live
thing
shows are nice because you can comment, but not everybody does live shows.
The only thing that was my saving grace as a new vapor was how early I got into it.
Right.
In 2014, 2015, YouTube channels were still small. I mean, that is when Mike Vapes wasn't that big. That's when the Vapor Chronicles wasn't that big. That's when a lot of the YouTubers were not huge like they are today. That was when, if you sent those people an email, they actually got it and would read it. If I had questions, that's what I was doing. I was emailing the YouTuber saying, hey, I have these questions. Can you answer them for me? I'm considering switching. Plus, I had someone at my job that had made his own mod. So I was asking him questions.
Yeah, and if you live in an area where you can't, you don't have a vape shop around, there are YouTube reviewers that still do those types of things.
Oh, I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Right, and you know, even some of the big ones, like Grim Green, even though he gets hundreds of emails, he still answers like the majority of those things.
Yeah.
And then smaller channels like ours, Vaping with the Omies, you know, sites like that, they check those emails on a regular basis because they want to get that information out. And even like when you put up there with the bot, you know, if you have show ideas, that's what we're looking for. What do you guys want to know about? What are you concerned about? What do you not have knowledge about that you need a better understanding about? And you're right, some of those big guys like Rip and Mike, they don't have the time to be able to do that. I mean, Mike's doing 5 or 6 reviews. I mean, I understand the time it takes to do that. But I can't necessarily answer every email. But I have a staff of people that I can forward that to answer those questions for you from real live people that you can communicate back and forth with until you feel comfortable.
And the other good thing today, today we have a lot better of options because I got into building, again, during the time that, you know, you could actually deal with people. I was part of Vaporium, which I'm still a part of, and I highly recommend if you're not with my Vaporium, come on over, join us. Because the thing is, if you have a question, you just type it in there. It's like a Facebook for vapors, and it'll be answered within 24 hours because we have a ton of people in there that check it, and they will help with anything. Then you also today, because of Zoom has done a lot for vaping. Because you've got a lot of your YouTubers like DJ LSB Vapes, and I think Fagan and them have one for their vape team chat and everything, or for their vape team group and everything else. Well, Skeletor, there's no more drama. They got rid of all the drama llamas. But the whole thing is, there's Zoom chats that you can always just hop in real quick. Even just verbal. You don't even have to show your face because there's a phone number for it. And you could just ask questions. I got in early even when it came to RDAs. I literally had 4 or 5 people sitting there explaining and teaching me how to do a coil in an RDA when I first got my freak show. Yeah, that tells you how long ago I started RDAs.
Wow.
It was with the freak show was my very first RDA. And it had been out a while.
And we don't want to forget about Twitter. If you need a quick answer to something, that is definitely a great place to go. Just make sure you're getting that information from a reliable source.
Yeah. But, you know what, Anthony? It is 10:30. We might as well go ahead and call today because we got a lot of stuff talked about, and
I have one more question.
Yes.
All right. This is not really vaping related. So you talked about the Reagan era earlier. Who's your favorite first lady? Nancy or the Stepford wife?
Nancy.
You know, and I'm conflicted about this because of the Just Say No program, which is a huge failure, and that seems to be the one thing that she's remembered for such a long period of time.
But okay,
so,
guys,
curious.
We are heading out of here. We will see you next week. We will do Geek Out tomorrow night. I am not working tomorrow night. And Wednesday night we will be doing NVR Live and Monday night we will do a DIY. Again, all the DIY as long as Jen will be on, and NVR as long as Jen's going to be available. But we will see you guys next time. If you like what you've seen here, there's much more to come. Just click one of the 2 boxes up here in the corner. And you know what? If you've liked it, make sure to subscribe. Just click the little button right there. Talk to you later, guys.